Welcome to Wine and Real Estate, the podcast where we drink wine, we have fun, and we learn about real estate investing. Real estate investing is so much more than just buying buildings. It's about building relationships, building your dreams, building your dream lifestyle, customizing your life. What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? It's much more than money. It's more than getting rich. It's a different type of wealth. It's the wealth of time, the wealth of freedom. And now let's get to the wine and the real estate. Let's start this episode with some financing tips from our go-to mortgage broker, Streetwise Mortgages. Over to you, Dahlia.
Hi, I'm Dahlia, founder of Streetwise Mortgages, and on today's episode, I would like to share with you the top 3 financing questions we're receiving from investors right now. Question number 1 is, my variable rate mortgage payment has increased since the rise of prime, and that impacted my cash flow. What solutions do you recommend to help me improve my cash flow and reduce the hit? Currently, locking into a fixed rate to hedge is not the way to go, especially on 5-year fixed rates, because the differential between variable and fixed rates on a 5-year term is about 200 points. That is roughly 2%. So by locking in, you are forcing an increase rather than saving. The way to go is to consider debt restructuring solutions. By debt restructuring, I am referring to strategies such as loan reamortization, swapping more expensive debts with cheaper debts, for example, unsecured lines of credit funds with secured funds, converting a principal and interest payment mortgage to an interest-only loan, or capping the increase on your variable rate by switching to a capped variable product where more goes towards interest versus principal as the rates rise. One or more of these strategies will help you reduce the monthly payment despite the higher interest rates. Question number 2. Property values are shifting in some markets. What should I plan for as an investor? Well, shifting values present both an opportunity and risk to investors. On the opportunity front, you are able to pick up better deals, negotiate better deals as well, due to the reduction in prices. If you want to position yourself to tap into the future opportunities the market will present, set up or increase secured line of credits where possible on existing properties, as you will be able to use these funds for down payment and you will be able to jump on opportunities much faster. While the values have declined a little bit, there's still equity in the properties and you should consider doing this sooner than later because the qualification is getting tighter. On the risk front, if you are in the midst of finishing a renovation on a property that you are looking to refinance in the next few months, I suggest that you do not wait until you are done the project to have a conversation about refinancing. It is best to have a conversation sooner than later with your mortgage advisor to discuss how your exit may have been impacted due to lower valuations as well as tighter mortgage qualifications, and to come up with a plan to address any shortage in funds. Number 2, if you are buying a property, please include your financing or appraisal condition. Gone are the days of going firm with the market rising on a week-over-week basis from the time an investor had placed an offer. Lenders lend on the lower of 2 things, the appraised value and the purchase price. So if you're buying a property above what it's worth, you will have to cover the difference from your own pocket. Question number 3. My renewal is coming up. Should I go with a fixed or a variable rate? The best thing to do when you have a renewal is not to wait to the last minute. Because if you do, you will be forced to make a decision that may not be to your best interest, and the lender is going to follow up with you and they will end up likely putting the loan on an open rate. So it's always best to plan for a renewal at least 6 months ahead. And not to auto sign the renewal sheet you are receiving from the lender, but rather to speak with your mortgage advisor for guidance on what is best to do, given where your finances are currently and where your needs are, as well as what your future plans look like. To support you during these changing markets with strategies, tips, and tools, and to help you not just adapt but thrive, check out our new page for frequent updates at streetwisemortgages.com/adapt thrive. If you have a pressing question right now or need guidance to navigate the new interest rate environment, email us at info@streetwisemortgages.com. Cheers to your success.
Welcome, everyone. So now I'm tempted. I should grab a glass of wine or something. But anyway, I'll be nice to our guest today. So you'll have to correct me with your name, Axel Monsaingeon?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Okay,
that's
perfect.
right.
Very nice. So you have quite an impressive bio. I'll have to read it for our guests. So born and raised in the French Caribbean. So where is that? Saint Pierre? No,
No,
Martinique
so
or
yeah, north of Martinique and Guadeloupe. I was actually born in Guadeloupe and then lived on a little island next to Saint Martin called Saint Bart's, and was there until the age of about 14 years old.
and you left Saint Bart's, man.
Yeah, I did. I left for
Wow.
school, and school stops really early, and the level drops off. And we're five kids, and all of us left around that time to go either to France or to US and Canada. So I went to France first, and then I ended up in Canada at 17.
Very cool. So one of
Mhm.
the reason why I kind of kid here, or I'm joking with this, is one of my investor partner wants to retire in St. Bart's. So
Yeah,
that's why it sounds funny. You left and he wants to go, and he's also French, so kind of funny story. But I love
yeah.
it. So after a BA in economics, you were working in shipping, and yeah, you were dealing with containers. Wow, so that's really cool. And now you're a full time real estate investor.
Yeah, went from exactly went to from shipping to then manufacturing. I was looking after supply chain management, and I really liked it. It was fun, but actually, when our first child was born, our son, who's now 5 years old, I realized I didn't really want to keep living. Well, working for other people and doing good deals for other people, and really wanted to take our lives in our hands. So I stayed on for a little bit more, and then I actually resigned from the corporate world. Took two mandates in consulting and management for a little bit, and then went full time into real estate, and that was back in 2019. And as difficult as it was, it's if not the best decision I've made in my life.
I love it. And you're fortunate you're like you said, that's your oldest is 5 years old. My kids are now pretty much adult. My son's 18, my daughter's 16. So wow, enjoy it. It's great to be able to have kind of that time freedom. You're able to
Yeah.
take time off during the day and enjoy your family. Can you tell us more about your real estate? So 2019, you went full time. Where do you invest, and kind of give us maybe a scale or an idea of scale of
Sure.
your portfolio and all?
So we invest mostly all in Quebec. So far, everything is within like a 50-kilometer radius. It just kind of happened that way. We started with a condo, my wife's condo, when we moved in together. We renovated hers, and then she moved in with me. And then we actually bought a little duplex in Verdun, great area of town in Montreal. And then we bought another condo across the street because it was being redeveloped from a fast food to a very nice 12 unit. Well, it's two sixes side by side. We got a unit in there. And then we went into multifamily. So we ended up buying some with a partner, a 5 unit. And that's really like the first one that we did the full cycle on the total, I was going to say on a complete burr. So buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and then repeat, where it took us about 18 months to do, tons of learning experience, and then did another 5 unit just on our own, and then bought two other projects since then. And now we just closed on two pieces of land about 3 weeks ago, and we are building a 17 unit just outside of Montreal with underground parking, commercial, and 16 residential units on top. So it's growing.
Wow, congrats. That sounds amazing. And I love that you're investing in Quebec. I don't get many guests investing in Quebec. I know with my name as well, a lot of people think I'm Quebecois, but I'm not. I'm Franco-Ontarian, kind of like you,
Hmm.
have a different background. So that's really interesting to learn about the intricacies of Quebec as well. I know the laws are different, so you can do the BRRRR strategy in Quebec as well. I know lenders, so the A lenders are the same, but a lot of B lenders and other laws are a bit different. Maybe do you mind walking us through maybe some differences if you know, because you're only
I
investing in
actually,
Quebec.
it's
So
a really good point. Like that's kind of all I know in terms of market. I've never done
okay,
any transactions in Ontario or in other provinces in Canada, so I actually might not be the best person to be able to compare. I just kind of got to know my local market and started investing around here. And as ridiculous as they may sound, our closest unit is really across the street from us.
wow,
And I know a lot of people would say, never do this, invest at a
not
distance,
a
find a
bad
better
thing though.
market. But like,
If
it's
it
one of
works,
our, yeah, and it's one of our best performing doors. And it's really easy to manage. I do some of it. Some of it is with an agent on the leasing and someone for maintenance. But no, it's been really good. Now, going back to your question and comparing to other places in Canada, I'm not sure I'm the best person to do
yeah, it's
this, but
true.
Quebec, in some ways, seems to have like a bit of a bad reputation because of the laws, because it's very tenant focused and all that. But I find it's not that bad, and there's plenty of opportunities. As much as people say, like, oh no, in Quebec, like go invest in the US and so on, like there's opportunities here. I don't want to say at every street corner, but almost,
No,
just because the fact that it's very tenant focused, there's been a lot of protection, and it's discouraged a lot of landlords and owners who are tired of it and who are just at some point just want to sell. And we both know like distressed sellers create opportunities.
yes, absolutely. No, and it's so true. I'm hearing more and more people looking at Quebec now, especially after Ontario, I personally feel is not tapped out, but almost. And the Maritimes were really hot for about 2 years. Now things are cooling off big time. Western Canada, it's kind of a boom and bust cycle. You mentioned the US as well, so boom and bust as well.
Mhm.
Down south, Europe, I mean, people have looked everywhere and now they're going to Quebec. So which is great. So you're talking about development. Is that in Montreal proper, and is the city pro development with land purchases, or like some cities are just not, they're not very good at helping investors with their
Mhm.
projects. So what's been your experience so far?
Well, our experience so far is kind of mixed. It really depends. Like on the land that we just acquired to build, we're acquiring the land and the project that's already been approved by the city. It's a
Oh,
projet.
great.
It's a projet particulier. It's been accepted about 2 years ago. It's just the previous owner never went forward. So all we need to do is the building permit, which at
Yeah,
this point is going to be a formality because everything's going to fit in the box that was authorized.
already. Oh,
And
nice.
so, and the city really, that particular city in Saint Jérôme really wants that building because it's downtown. Right now, it's a bad vacant land, and it's gonna embetter the neighborhood,
Yeah.
and it's a smaller city. Now, when you look at bigger cities in Montreal, like right now, we have two projects that we're waiting for building permits for. And it's actually tough because on one side, you have the city and politicians who say, well, there's a housing crisis and we
Yes.
need to add units and make it easier for families. And yet, in our case, we acquired this property. It's a fully vacant 4 unit
Wow.
right next to a metro. And we need to do about 200K of renovation.
And you're
And
willing
so
to do it.
yeah, everything's ready. The contractor is ready. The budget is ready. The scope has been
But
determined.
the
We
city's
just need,
not.
but we've been going through this since January, and we're now in May. And
Wow.
so I find there's a huge disconnect between what they say at the politician level, and then at the
Mhm.
administration level, who actually studies the projects and delivers the building permit, and us investors slash landlord, whatever you want to call us, where yeah, I want to help with the housing crisis and I want to put more dwellings on the market for long-term rental. I'm not going to do some Airbnb in this. It's just we've already lost 5 months.
Yeah, and that's money. Like that money sitting there is costing you every day. So I don't want to rub it in. I want to go
It
back
is.
to Saint Jérôme. So Saint
Yeah,
Jérôme, for those that don't know, it's on the way to the Laurentians on Highway 15. Yes,
correct.
Highway 15. And a few years ago, they added the train, the train de banlieue, so the suburban train or GO train. If you're from Toronto or Ottawa, we have our light rail that goes nowhere for now. But Saint Jérôme, that's great that it's really growing. And Saint Jérôme has some interesting market fundamentals. I've been there several times, and there's all kinds of things. It is a bit of a suburban commuter town, but there's also employment and different things. So, why did you choose Saint Jérôme, if you don't mind sharing?
Sure. I mean, in this case, it's actually you described Saint Jerome actually quite well. There's light industry over there, which is good, which means that there's actually things that are being manufactured in
Yeah.
town, and it's also a little bit of the hub for all of the Laurentians. So this is where there's the big hospital. This is where there is at least two CEGEPs, and now there's a small university campus. And it's funny that you described the train station because the lot that we're building on is actually 400 meters away from the
Oh
train
my,
station. Yeah,
very
so
good.
we're hoping to tap into that market as well. And literally across the
Yeah.
street we have the university, and then just 400 meters down the street is the train station where some people work downtown Montreal and they live in Saint Jérôme or even further north. So as you said, in terms of commute and transportation, it's a bit of a node, and it's ideally located for that. And on the west side of the Highway 15, there's a lot of development that's been taking place, semi-detached, single-family homes. There's entire neighborhoods that have been built over there in the last couple of years. So it's a city that's quite in demand. So we're happy to be a part of it.
Very good. And it's kind of the doorway to cottage country for Montreal. So I find it's
Yeah,
like you're buying in, if you're in Toronto, you're buying in Barrie, which is a hot market. And
yeah.
then you get to Muskoka. Well, it's not quite on the way to Muskoka, but anyway, sort of.
Mhm.
So it's cool, but nicer scenery with the mountains. I like it better than Barrie, but anyway, I guess
Yeah.
I'm partial. So Axel, so what else are you planning for the future? Now you have kids. Are you building generational wealth for them, or what's your story for the whole family?
Thank you. So that's a really good question, the big why. And yes, building generational wealth is a part of it. It's also that with my wife, we wanted to change our lives and change our lifestyle. And both of us coming out of the corporate world, she actually now resigned a couple months ago.
Oh, cool.
At the beginning, it's a pay cut. Let's be honest. But
And it's
we
scary.
and it's scary and it's a big change, and it's also when we realize like how formatted we've been to like, no, you're going to go to university, you're going to get a corporate job, and
Yeah.
you're going to be happy with 3 weeks of vacation a year and put 18% in your RRSP and blah blah blah, the big lie that we've been told.
Do you work
And
for CBC by any chance? No.
nope,
Just kidding, but
I did not. Oh, for the broadcasting the lie.
yeah, yeah, no, but
Yeah.
just I mean, because it's so drilled in, like as North Americans, this is what we do, and
Mhm. And so now, so we really wanted to make a change in our lives and be the master of our time, how we spend our time, how we spend our resources, whatever they are, obviously time being one of them, our money, and have the flexibility to spend time with kids. And it's over time that we realized that we both had a big attraction for real estate. Starting with her father he's a working professional, but he's always had construction jobs and doing whatever he could around the house, building, and some of them like some serious work, including some dabbling with electricity and plumbing and stuff like that. And I actually worked with him on some small projects around the house, and it gave me the confidence of like, it's not that difficult. Doesn't mean I want
yeah,
to do it, but at least I understand how to install plugs and how the plumbing for a sink and basic items like that. And then on my side, my father was an architect, and now he's pretty much retired. He's taken his time, and I've always liked real estate and I've always understood it. And going back to why as an investment, and it's also because talking about it very simply, real estate is something that we understand.
Yeah.
It's not like some crazy stock or equity on the market that
You
you
have
don't
no
really
control
that you
over.
have no control over. This we have control over it. We can force appreciation.
Yeah.
We redo a bathroom, redo a kitchen. You can charge more for that. You add a bigger terrace in the back, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure you and your listeners know all about it. And it's something that we actually enjoy, just because it's also a very people business. And
Yeah. Yeah. You
you,
meet all kinds of
yeah,
people.
you meet all kinds of people. You're always dealing with people, whether it's financing, whether it's a contractor, whether it's tenant, whatever side of the equation you're on. It's a very people business, and we actually quite like that. And that's why we went into it. And also, yeah, when you see what you can make 1 year at a corporate job or 1 year working on a big project, and see what you get as cash flow, as appreciation, and when you refinance, like, the math is pretty clear.
It really is. And especially you live in Quebec, so with Revenu Quebec as well, on top of all this, it's important to secure money in your assets. So, equity. A lot of people talk about cash flow. It's important. My previous guest, I was recording another podcast before this. He was talking about cash flow, but also equity, which
Yeah.
is very important. Yes, eventually you'll pay taxes on it. On your death, if you don't sell the place, or your kids will pay for you, but at least you're kind of deferring that, and you can use that equity for more purchases, more loans. Your net worth is increasing. There's all kinds of benefits to that.
Mhm.
So, Axel, I'm curious to ask you as well. I noticed that you host a podcast and you also have a meetup. So,
Mhm.
those things are very important. I coach people on real estate investing, and I always tell them you have to market yourself, brand yourself, and do something to meet other people, because you said it, it's all about people. So could you tell us more about that? Like, what's your podcast and your meetup
Sure.
and what's going on, especially during the pandemic? What did you
So,
do?
well, exactly. I mean, it started with my wife, because both her and I are very passionate about real estate, and we realized, like, very early on, at the beginning of the pandemic and lockdown, that we actually faced real estate talk withdrawal. We just felt like we had no one to talk to anymore, and kind of like as a game, it was kind of a friend who pushed me, and it was like, wow. And I'd been thinking about it for a little while, but I never did it, and was like, why don't we just start a meetup and let's just see what happens. And then started it, and there's like 6 or 8 people showed up and had a good conversation. And then we went like every 2 weeks on Tuesdays, all on Zoom. And it was really fun because we started to meet people that we would have never had an occasion to be in contact with, and have conversations with, and obviously start to answer some questions, and analyze a deal with someone and stuff like that. And then throughout that whole period, every time like we hung up, like, well, it goes away. The content is for an hour, and if you're not there, you missed it. And then we realized, like, well, what could we do to make the content stay? And I guess that's called a podcast. And so that's
Yeah.
what we started. And throughout our real estate adventure, we kept meeting people that were either successful real estate investors and real estate professionals. And I've had amazing conversations with plumbers, with
Oh, yeah.
electricians, with general contractors, with people for financing or land surveyors. And I always thought, like, wouldn't it be fun to actually invite someone and have a half-hour conversation and then just share it with everyone? And this is how the Very Real Estate Effect podcast was born. It was a game at the beginning, and in a way still is, because I find it extremely motivating to talk to all these people, because I feel like I would have never had a chance,
Yeah.
to have that interaction, kind of like what we're having now in a way. So it's been really fun. It's grown, and we had an event last week. We had about 70 people that showed up. Um,
Congrats.
yeah, it was fun. And so now that we're allowed to not be on Zoom anymore, we actually host it in a restaurant, and we don't have anything to sell. We're not trying to push anything. It's just for people to meet, have drinks, be outside, see new faces, and see how we can help each other. Whether sometimes it's just like, oh, a contact for financing, or today someone asked me a guy for for doors and windows and stuff like that. And I'm always happy to share all these contacts, because I know it'll help someone down the road.
And I find when you share like that, it also helps your own network. So you mentioned Windows, for example. So if you have someone asking you about Windows and you share your contact, and this person gets more business and it comes back to you. So it's kind of creating these win-win solutions for
Mhm.
everybody in a maybe in a small way. It seems very casual, but sometimes you change people's lives as well. I
Yeah,
refer people
absolutely.
all the time, and some people have seen their businesses boom. I'm like, oh, I never thought I sent you that much. Like, it's not just me, but imagine that with several investors keep sending people to
Yeah.
a new lawyer or whatever it is, a professional. And
Mhm.
going back to your podcast as well, it's great to have a podcast because you can say, hey, come on my podcast. And then some people that never would give you the time of day will come on and go and talk to you about different
Yeah.
things, give you some insights. So I really like it.
You're absolutely right. It's really fun. And the thing is that I've had moments where I've recorded with, there's a few conversation in particular that I remember where I remember hanging up after recording and felt so energized by
Good.
the other person's energy because, one guy in particular, Mike Jagger, that we had last year, big time Montreal developer, they raised 100 million in 3 weeks. And he was
Whoa.
kind of walking me through the process. I know it's not a small undertaking of like how
But
they did it.
just a
And
number.
yeah, it's just a number. And for, it obviously, it was in 3 weeks that they secured that amount. Now it
Wow.
took months of preparation, and it still took months after to collect the capital and deploy it and so on. But it's just so motivating to share these ideas and stories. And another one, a marketing consultant, Mike Kim, that I had on, and where he usually charges about $3,000 an hour for clients,
And you got him for free.
and I got him for free for 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's just a fun journey.
No, it's a great tool. And like you said, it's something that stays live as well. That's why Clubhouse, I don't know if you remember during the
Yeah.
pandemic, people were all going to Clubhouse and it just kind of disappears. And I don't hear about Clubhouse anymore. I don't think it will die. I think there's a space for it, but people
Mhm.
want to be able to listen to things in the future. It's good to have a reference point as well. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I remember this guest said something interesting, and I can go through my list and then share it with people. And also, it helps you multiply what you do and say. Because I'm sure as a podcast host and a meetup host, people ask you the same questions over and over. So you probably refer to episode 22. You should listen
Yeah.
to it. It's perfect. It's going to answer most of your questions. And because
Mhm.
you can't help everyone all the time, like there's only 24 hours a day, and you're
Yeah.
trying to create that lifestyle for yourself and your family. So if you're just answering questions all the time, it's not good. So do you have any tips and tricks you'd like to share about podcasting or hosting a meetup or becoming a real estate investor?
I mean, well, that's a very broad question. Like
Yeah.
about becoming a real estate investor, you and I have at events, we've met probably hundreds of people who say, "I want to invest in real estate. I've been looking at it for 2 years,
Oh
but
man.
blah 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 blah." Okay, and it's the but and the three dots that just always I'm getting floored. And the thing is that the advice I always give is just get started. Just
Mhm.
do a first deal. It's not gonna You're going to learn tons. It's not going to be perfect. It's
Nope.
going to be far from perfect. It's not going to make you rich. It's not going to make you poor. It's just going to get you addicted to want to educate yourself and improve.
Yes.
Just get started. And getting started, it's scary for people to make an offer just on a $300,000 property that they've maybe visited once and they were in there 10 minutes. Now you and I, we make offers. We haven't even visited the place, and we
No,
say
that's it.
if my offer gets accepted, I'll take the 20 minutes to go visit, but not until
Yeah.
then. And the thing is, as scary as it can be, people just have to, one, get over their fear. Fear is everywhere.
Yes.
It's We are our worst enemy. It's our own fear. And number two, every day, just take a tiny small step. Small step. If just look at a couple listings, analyze 2 listings a day at 9 p.m. before you go to bed, so you get to know your local market or wherever you're trying to invest. And or just if you want to get into short term, run some numbers, talk to someone. Small step every day, because that's how it adds up. Because trying to do like 5 hours a week is difficult in one block. But if you
Yeah.
break it down into 7 times 45 minutes before you go to bed, you actually get a lot of stuff done.
You
And so
really
for all these
do.
people who say like, "Oh, I want to invest in real estate, but blah
I
blah
don't have
blah,"
time or whatever.
ah, that's ridiculous. If you don't have time, it's because it's not enough of a priority for you. And if it's not enough of a priority, think about your motivation. Your motivation's not there. And
No,
at some point, like I wanted to work out more, and I realized like I'm just gonna stop saying like, "Oh, I didn't have the time." Now I just say I didn't make it enough of a priority to work out today because at
that's
least it's
it.
honest with myself.
No, that's so true. And as I'm not sure how old you are, I'm 41. So I find when you hit your 40s, you start admitting things. Yes, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be fit. And I did that for years and years. I'm gonna get up at 5 a.m. and work out. Now I'm like, whatever. I'm gonna try to get in
Yeah,
more steps. I got my Apple Watch to help out and do
yeah,
what I can, and that's it. And I guess it's not a priority, and just admit it.
yeah.
Am I happy? My wife is happy. Whatever, then it's good.
Happy wife is very important.
Yeah, happy wife, happy life.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Very important.
words of wisdom here. Anybody listening, that's great to take action in small increments that are manageable and sustainable as well. So, that
Yeah.
$100, raising $100 million sounds like fun and it is doable, but maybe not the best thing to do right from the get go. The person you were talking about has years of experience. So, to that person, 3 weeks to raise 100 millions is nothing because of that reputation and those many years of excellence to get to that point.
Mhm.
So it's like us buying a property without even seeing it. I'm buying in properties I've never been in, and then I show up and analyze it. That I don't recommend that as a starting point. That's probably property number 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever. Build from there. But again, like you're saying, take some small steps, make a phone call, show up at a meetup. That's a
Yeah.
huge one. And
Huge.
yeah,
Absolutely. And because going back to your question about like, the meetup, the podcast and how to start in real estate, like meetup, we really started because we genuinely like to talk to people and we
yeah,
like to help other people. And sometimes we realize like, hey, we could actually like answer questions and it helps. And we like to go to other real estate event and networking because
absolutely.
we meet other people, and so much has changed because we've met other people. And sometimes you go to an event and you're like, oh, I don't really want to go, and this and that, but all it takes is one meaningful conversation with
And it changes
one
everything.
person, and then you're like, oh my god, I'm so happy I came. This
Yeah,
was my entire evening was worth it because of this one conversation. And those are the $2,000 moments. They may not save you or make you two thousand
no,
dollars but it's the wow, that was worth it for me to go just to meet this one person. And again, like real estate is, you're buying brick, you're buying a roof and stuff, but it's a people business. And if you don't see the value in being around and sharing with others and connecting other people and all that, it's gonna be tougher for you.
totally. No, it's so true. And yeah, you have to meet people, and that's same with you during the pandemic. I was missing that meetup which I used to host in Ottawa, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why I switched to podcasting until I'm like, well, okay, this is fun now. I get to meet people I would never meet. I've had guests from different countries, different provinces now. It's a lot of fun. And like yourself, maybe not a plumber, right? That might be interesting, but maybe more up my wife's alley. She likes plumbing and different things. I'm more the creative type, not that mechanical stuff.
Yeah,
But
well, it works for everyone.
that's it. You find your niche, you find your target audience, and make it fun for you and your guest. So
Mhm.
thank you. It's been a pleasure, Axel. How can people get a hold of you? What's the best way to reach out and maybe
Sure.
attempt a meetup?
Sure. So it's in Montreal. It's on meetup.com, and they can look for Very Real Estate Effect. Otherwise, Axel Monsaingeon, they can hit me up on LinkedIn. And otherwise, the podcast, same thing, is called The Very Real Estate Effect. It's weekly, and we interview real estate investors and real estate professionals. And I always like to get some feedback. If there's particular topics people want to hear about, or people that you'd have an idea that they'd be a great guest, please reach out to me. I'd love to have them on so we can share their story.
And I love that, taking suggestions from the audience as well for guests. That's great. Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure. We'll have to meet in person in Montreal at some point. I'm only
Absolutely.
about 2 hours away. If I drive Quebecois style, maybe an hour and a half. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you, Francois.
Cheers. Hey there, listeners. We hope you enjoyed this latest episode of the Wine and Real Estate podcast.
Yes, absolutely. You can find us on Instagram. Our handle is wine_and_real estate. So wine and real estate. On Facebook, FL Homes Corp. And you can also find us on our YouTube channel.
Yes, and please make sure to give us a rating, 5 stars, or any comments. We'd love to hear from you. And we love suggestions as well. Cheers.
Yeah, chin chin.